Tonight's the night. Good day. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into First Take. Stephen A. Smith, Max Kellerman. I'm Molly Karen Rose.
Molly, you and I actually lived in L.A. for many years, and I sometimes pretend I'm still
right downtown, West Hollywood. Good times. I like it. Listen, it's 80 plus out here, too.
I like the shades on Max. The problem is you indoors and you not in L.A. You see what I'm saying?
Huh?
So
it's going to be like 80 degrees in New York today, brother.
Nice try, but you got to have the shades need to be a little bit more narrow in my personal opinion. Molly, you can add it, you can chime in.
I like those. Those are classic Ray-Bans.
The aviator
I like the
style,
Cartiers too, Stephen A. But those Ray-Bans never go out of style either. I'll leave you with this. It is 80 plus here today. I will be working on my tan lines around 2 p.m. Eastern. See y'all tomorrow. Okay, the play-in tournament we've all been waiting for. Steph Curry, the scoring champ who LeBron called this season's MVP, facing LeBron James and the Lakers. The Warriors beat Bron in the finals 3 times. Of course, that was with the Splash Brothers intact. And this time, they have to deal with Anthony Davis as well. LeBron took 1 Larry O'Brien from the Dubs. LA favored by 5. I guess I'll start with you, Stephen A. Which would be the more intriguing deep run, in your humble opinion, sir? The Warriors or the Lakers?
Well, we all know it's the Warriors. We all know it's the Warriors because the expectation is about the Lakers. Only thing we worried about with the Lakers is whether or not they're healthy. If they're healthy, we expect it. Nobody would expect that from these Golden State Warriors sans Klay Thompson. They don't have Klay Thompson in the roster. When they do get Klay Thompson back next year, they'll be in these conference finals. I'm telling y'all that right now. But because he's not there, and you got Steph Curry, the league's leading scorer, the ultimate sniper, the greatest shooter God ever created, that dude, and the fact that this dude, if he could put himself and these Warriors in a position where they actually made a run where night in, night out, you tried to figure out a way how to stop a brother from pulling up from 20, from 30, from 40, damn it, 50, because of Steph Curry we talking about. Could you imagine how sensational that would be? We look at LeBron James. We understand what LeBron James brings to the table. Career 27-7-7. We know he's money. We look at Anthony Davis. We know when healthy, he's one of the top 5 players in the world. We know what they bring to the table. Size, girth, basketball IQ, defensive prowess when they want to amp it up, a whole host of things. But LeBron James holding the ball and looking to exploit mismatches is far less intriguing than a brother like Steph Curry pulling up from the parking lot. I'm here to tell y'all right now, when we talk about what would be more intriguing, the operative word is intriguing. I definitely have to say, if Steph Curry went on a tear where he was unstoppable and day in and day out we couldn't figure it out, that would be more intriguing. LeBron and AD, if healthy, we know what to expect from them. Another finals berth.
I think the vitamin D, you're getting too much sun out there, brother. You're too amped up. Settle down, Stephen. I know you're excited to be in L.A.
I only arrived here 4 hours ago.
Well, then you have no excuse. Maybe it's too early in the morning. You're delirious.
It's playoff time.
Hold up. The Warriors' deep run more intriguing? That's wrong on so many levels. First of all, when we say deep run, a deep run for the Warriors would be getting to the conference finals. I think we could all agree that's a deep run for them.
Absolutely.
And they're not going to even get to the conference finals. But in this hypothetical, they ain't getting past the conference finals. That's as far as they could go. Versus a team that maybe the first 8 seed, let's see what happens in this game tonight, to win a championship. The defending champion LA Lakers, who actually have a chance to defend that title, and may have to do it against a big 3 in Brooklyn, the most awesome assemblage of talent ever, right? In the big 3. Now, that's 1. 2, think about the stakes personally. When we talk about the NBA, Stephen A., the reason it's barbershop conversation, the way the fight game is because as much of it's a team sport, it's an individual star sport too. And when we talk about individual stars, in the history of sports on earth, the number 1 guy is Michael Jordan. And that's who LeBron is chasing. That's who he's taking aim at. When you talk about maybe catching the greatest athlete who ever lived, and that's what LeBron's trying to do. And you could say no now, but a couple weeks ago, you were sitting here doing the thing if LeBron wins this year, if he gets by through the West and then beats the Nets, we may have to reopen the conversation about Jordan. He's going for his 5th ring, and he's Jordan chasing. And that is the most intriguing thing in these playoffs.
First of all, you just exposed your lack of basketball knowledge and how you read as opposed to watch, and you really don't know what you're talking about. Because when you talk about an 8th-seeded team, the New York Knicks went to the finals as an 8th seed in 19. Let me finish. You'll understand my point if you take a moment to listen. I know you try to interrupt as a debate strategy that never works for you, because if you interrupt somebody's soliloquy, maybe they won't get to their point, but it ain't working with me. The fact of the matter is they went to the finals at an 8th seed, but nobody expected them to win. In the case of the Los Angeles Lakers, we all know the only reason there'll be a 7th or an 8th seed for these playoffs is because LeBron James missed 2 months and Anthony Davis missed longer than that. Even though literally speaking, there'll be a 7th or an 8th seed, there isn't anyone on the planet, including yourself, because you've been on a record stating it on numerous occasions, who view the Lakers as a 7th or 8th seed if it were not for health reasons. And you also conceded the other day with Kendrick Perkins on the show that obviously you're talking about things, but you took health into consideration. If you throw health aside and you take into consideration that they're healthy, nobody is looking at this team this way, or nobody is looking at this team that way. And that's what you said about the Lakers, along with a bevy of other teams that suffered injuries. So the Lakers are not theoretically rather, they are not a 7th or an 8th seed, because we know when healthy, they probably will be the favorites against the number 2 seeded Phoenix Suns. That's not the same thing. So don't talk about how intriguing it's going to be for them to get to the finals or possibly win the championship as a 7th or an 8th seed, because we all know LeBron James and Anthony Davis were out a minimum of 2 months each, and that later in the season, and that compromised everything.
The point of being a lower seed is not no one thought they would be here. The point is, in round 1, you have to play a powerhouse. Instead of a gimme, which is usually what you get in round 1 as a top seed or a top 2 or 3 seed, you're not playing the winner of Memphis.
There are no gimmies in the West.
The winner of the Memphis, Spurs game play-in, if a team like that is sitting there at 8, that's a gimme in the West. You could say no gimmies, but it's not the same thing as playing the 1, 2, or 3. So when you start out, if you're an 8 seed and you start out first series, you have to play Utah, which has one of the greatest point differentials ever, which has been pretty much the best team in the league, wire to wire just about. You don't think that's an added obstacle?
Max Kellerman, if this argument by you were being made because the Spurs or the Memphis Grizzlies managed to sneak into the postseason as an 8th seed, I get where you're coming from. But that hasn't happened yet. So I ask you a simple question. Take away the 8th seed, literally the 8th seed, because the loser of tonight's game will go against the 9-10 winner, and they'll be the 8th seed, okay? The top 7 seeds, is there an easy out for any of them?
No, but there are harder outs than some. The Jazz are a harder out than the 5th or 6th seeded team.
So that's what we go.
Yes.
So that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing.
No.
Yes.
Because the point is that there was a time in recent memory where we could look at a different conference and we could say, hell, this is an easy out, this is an easy out, that's an easy out, because the conference wasn't powerful.
It's not the Eastern Conference.
I'm saying the Western Conference is powered from top to bottom in terms of the playoff picture. And so because of it from that, listen, if Steph Curry get yourself in a situation. Why are we so thrilled? Because we know what Steph Curry's capable of, and we know what he's able to infuse. And if you know that, that makes him dangerous. We anticipate that the Lakers will probably win, which would make them a 7th seed. They'd probably be a 7th seed that's deemed the favorites against the number 2 seed. When does that ever happen?
In a 7-game series are a much, much easier team to beat than the Jazz in a 7-game series. And the point is, the Lakers are not going to get a much easier team in the first round. They're going to get a much harder team. And then they'll have another hard team. And
do you have the Lakers going to the finals? Do you have the Lakers going to the finals if they're healthy?
I do.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
They're the more intriguing
Thank you. They're not a 7th
right.
seed or an 8th seed. They're just
As
injured.
for the Dubs, 8-1 in May, lead the league in threes and defensive rating. Let's keep it moving. I saw playoff Tatum. Did you all?
Enjoy so much about playing in finals against him. It just brings out another level of intensity and excitement.
We got to be prepared for everything that they have. They got championship DNA as well. They know what it takes and what it feels like to be in pressure game. We got to be ready for that opportunity and for that pressure.
Let's go!
The biggest game of the season goes down tonight. LeBron and the Lakers versus Steph and the Warriors and Stephen A. Smith live in LA. Tomorrow, don't miss First Take, 10 a.m. on ESPN2. Again, we're on ESPN2 Thursday and Friday, where Stephen A. debates all the fallout from the showdown at Staples. Let's revisit the LeBron-Steph rivalry now. They met in the playoffs for the first time in the 2015 finals with the series tied 2-2. LeBron had a 40-point triple-double, but the Warriors won behind 37 from Curry. Dubs took that series in 6 the next year. They squared off again in the finals with it going 7 games. LeBron had a triple-double in Game 7 to give the Cavs their first NBA title, taking down the 73-win Warriors. Golden State came back to win the 2017 title over Cleveland, and they met again in 2018. LeBron James dropped 51 in Game 1, but it wasn't enough as the Warriors swept the Cavs. Brooms out, y'all. Flash forward to this season. The Lakers and Warriors first met on January 18th. The Lakers blew a 19-point lead as Golden State came back to win by 2. LeBron went 1 for 5 in the 4th, but the last 2 meetings, all Lakers. Despite not having AD, the Lakers won those 2 matchups by a combined 57 points overall. Steph leads the series versus LeBron 22-16, including the playoffs. Kendrick Perkins on your screen, also from LA. Big Perk, always a pleasure, sir. And I would like to start with you here. Tell me this. Do you think the Lakers are going to repeat?
Hey, first of all, Molly, let me say this. I see you in that hot pink shining like new money. Max, typical gray as usual. Stephen A. Nino Brown. You got your Rottweiler? I am my brother's keeper.
I am my brother's keeper. Yes, yes. Wesley Snipes. Love to Wesley Snipes, no doubt.
Hey, Molly, to answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, they're going to get through the West. This is the easiest route for the Los Angeles Lakers. They're going to beat the Phoenix Suns, and they're going to beat whoever next they see in the second round, and then they're going to beat whoever else in the Western Conference. Look, here's the fact of the matter, right? We watched 2 games of LeBron James and Anthony Davis play, and they look healthy to me. And that was the only concern when it came down to the Los Angeles Lakers was the health and the health concerns of Anthony Davis and LeBron James, and they look healthy to me. Now I'm gonna tell you where the Lakers took a leap, and I thought they did a tremendous job. When they played the Houston Rockets, although it was the Houston Rockets, and I get it, one of the worst teams in the NBA, but they are still professionals, okay? AD and LeBron James set out. Great call by Frank Vogel and his coaching staff by sitting them out. You know why? Because that one game helped the role players and the others gain confidence and help them figure things out without LeBron James and Anthony Davis being on the floor. We saw Tatum Horton-Tucker. He had to play out of position, right? Had to play the point guard position because Dennis Schroeder wasn't there and Caruso wasn't there. We saw Kyle Kuzma had to elevate his game in the clutch moments. We saw Caldwell Pope had to knock down timely shots. And then we also saw Markieff Morris find his rhythm, who had been struggling all season long. So health was the concern. Along with that, they have the best defense, Molly, in the NBA. So yes, I do have the Los Angeles Lakers repeat.
Well, I don't. I have them going to the finals and then running into the Brooklyn Nets, running into KD, where KD will be in the finals and he will average 30. Okay, that's what he's averaging. At least 30 on 50% shooting or better, and better than 35% shooting from three-point range. That's what KD gonna do, all right? And I just think that having him with Kyrie and James Harden, they better win. I will say this, Brooklyn better win, because if they don't win, ain't nobody gonna give a damn about KD, Kyrie, and especially anything Kyrie has to say. They gotta win the chip, no doubt about it. But I think they're gonna do it. I think that they're just too They're too lethal offensively, and more importantly, whether they'll admit it or not, just winning basketball games, they're accustomed to doing that. I think Kyrie and KD want LeBron. James Harden wants a championship. He wants that championship on his resume. I think KD and Kyrie want LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers. And I think that they would be extraordinarily hyped for that. Not to say they won't be hyped for the finals period, but extraordinarily hyped for that, especially Kyrie, to go up against LeBron in the finals. And I just think that they just have too much firepower, and I think that they would beat the Lakers because I don't consider the Lakers to be 100%. And as LeBron said, he ain't going to be 100% again. I think they need to be in order to beat Brooklyn. And the health of LeBron and Anthony Davis, I think some nicks and knacks will come their way. I don't think they'll be 100% healthy. And I think that going up against Brooklyn will be too much offensively for them.
Even if they were healthy, Perk, Stephen A's right, although, Stephen A., your focus is on the wrong guys. KD and Kyrie are unstoppable weapons. That's what they're going to be. They're going to be weapons. But the real story on these Nets is when they hired Steve Nash as head coach and then he picks up D'Antoni and then they trade for Harden. You know, what that D'Antoni system was run first by Steve Nash and then even better by James Harden, right? And that's who they got on the bench now with Harden running the show. Think about this. When LeBron had Kyrie and Kevin Love, Stephen A., you said what he would say before going into a series with the Steph, KD, Clay, Dre Warriors was a concession speech. Like, even LeBron crewed up was like, that's too much. But you know what team took him to a 7th game? You know what team took him to a 7th game at home? You know what team took him to a 7th game at home and only had one star on the team because Chris Paul got hurt? The D'Antoni Harden Rockets. And they missed 27 consecutive threes, still only lost by single digits to that Warriors team that LeBron crewed up had no shot against. Well, guess what? D'Antoni and Harden this time, they're not just like missing Chris Paul and they have some other role players. They got KD and Kyrie. They got way closer against the Warriors than LeBron could crewed up before they had a crew, without a crew, because they were playing the most efficient, even if it wasn't the most, crowd-pleasing style of basketball. They're going to do that again, only with KD and Kyrie this time. Perk, it's too much for any team to overcome. The talent is stacked too high. They're going to play too efficiently. And by the way, turns out Blake can still play. And don't leave Joe Harris open, but you have no choice.
Well, Max, one person that you're forgetting to talk about when you talk about too much is Anthony Davis. And you tell me one person, if the Brooklyn Nets get to the finals and match up with the Los Angeles Lakers, you tell me one person on that team that's going to stop Anthony Davis. We saw with Anthony Davis. We witnessed what Anthony Davis did last year in the bubble when he had to go against Big Nurkic, when he had to go against Big Jokic, he had to go against Bam, he had to go against all those bigs, elite bigs, to get to where he was, and he dominated in great fashion. I'm talking about Shaquille O'Neal and Wilt Chamberlain numbers, historical numbers in that playoff run. So tell me who on the Brooklyn Nets is going to guard or stop Anthony Davis.
No
he
one.
is going to have a field day. I mean, it's possible that he could average 40 and 15 in that series. If he does that, it's definitely no debate, which he's capable of doing.
KP, let me chime in here at you for a second here and break this down. And this is why I respectfully disagree with you. I get where you're coming from because Anthony Davis is going to get his, and he's going to get his numbers and what have you. And obviously, usually against most teams, he'll have a profound effect. Like, for example, if he went against Denver, Jokic, whatever he does to everybody else, can't easily do to Anthony Davis. Here's my issue with Anthony Davis against Brooklyn. Number one, Anthony Davis, despite his prowess as an overall big and what he brings to the table, he primarily hurts you from the perimeter. The brother can shoot the basketball. And 15 to 17 feet away from the basket, whether facing or his back to the basket, he can do some damage to you. That's what he does. Defensively, even though he can get out on wings and whatever, it's not, if it were Harden and Kyrie, that would be different. But when you got a 7-footer with a 7'6" wingspan on the perimeter game, like KD, that's the X factor. If Brooklyn predicated its offensive prowess and success on getting inside, the combination of LeBron, Anthony Davis, and Andre Drummond would say to me, you know what? Ain't no way in hell they beating the Lakers. But the fact that they're so lethal from the outside, and you have 3 marksmen, and you don't even bring in Joe Harris, Landry Shamet into the equation and others. I'm just looking at Brooklyn and their ability to shoot and put points up in buckets as being entirely too much for Anthony Davis because he can't come out on the perimeter and cover everybody. Okay? And ain't no answer for KD.
I mean, go ahead, Perk.
Well, Stephen A., I have to respectfully disagree. Because when healthy, Anthony Davis is the best defensive player in the league. And when you look at the way that Anthony Davis is able to guard 1 through 5, okay? Keep guys in front of him. Put the clamps on him. I watched him in that Knicks game, and not only did he guard Julius Randle and get great stops down the stretch, but when he had to switch out on Derrick Rose, and when we think about Derrick Rose, we're talking about a guy that no one wants to guard that could stay in front of him. Anthony Davis had him shooting off the damn near off the side of the backboard. And when I look at AD,
bottom line is, guys,
I'm saying he could.
You're right about AD. No one's debating that, Perk. He's going to get his. He's a great player. Bottom line is Lakers got 2 of those guys. The Nets got 3.
All right. My bottom line is Perk is the only one who thinks the Lakers are repeating. We'll see how this all plays out. A segment so nice we had to do it twice. Kendrick Perkins is back with another edition of Max Just Said It. Come on, Max. Carry on. Get it together. I'm teeing you up. And Stephen A. will want to pay extra close in history to get a triple-double. You know who her mentor was? Kobe Bean Bryant. How impressive is that?
She's amazing. Look, they lost almost every game last year. She basically didn't play. She plays 3 games this year. They're 3-0, and she just had the 10th triple-double in the history of the league. She may have that many this season by herself. By the way, notice Sabrina joins the team. The Knicks, for all the chest thumping, are the 3rd best basketball team in New York City.
Oh my gosh, coming off a major injury too. Stephen A., will the Wizards beat the Pacers?
No, I don't see it. I watched the Pacers even though it was against a Charlotte team that should be ashamed of themselves because they didn't show up last night at all. It was embarrassing how they played defense, giving up 144 points. The Pacers look like a team, and that's even with Karis LeVert being out. Sabonis, Brissett, McDermott was hitting threes all over the place. Drew Holiday, TJ McConnell, my little brother, I love him. I just think they're a better team and they beat the Wizards.
Max, we just talked about the Knicks and what Tibbs is doing. Do you agree with NBA coaches voting Monty Williams as Coach of the Year?
No. First of all, congratulations. He's an excellent coach. But they were 8-0 in the bubble. And looking at them on paper going into the season, I thought they would be excellent. You don't know how, like, Westbrook and Beal will play together, Harden and Kyrie, but you knew one thing. Chris Paul and Devin Booker, ooh, that's going to work. And it has. The biggest question mark was their center, who was drafted number 1 overall, and he was already pretty good. I'm not surprised by their success. Tibbs should have been Coach of the Year.
Carry on. Tell Stephen A. and Max to keep a cool booty while I address this situation, all right?
No, Max,
that's Max. Stop. Just stop. Max Kellerman. Stop it, Max. Stop it. What, Max? What are you talking about?
Calm down.
Hold that L. He better knock him down. He's a professional. Oh, put some respect on that man's name. We lost our mind debating with you. Yeah, you lost, all right. They want all this smoke. Carry on.
Yes, you know what it is. It's time for a new segment.
Carry
on. Max and Stephen A., listen up. Big Perk has something he wants to get off his chest, but these are the rules. You cannot interrupt him until he finishes. Perk, floor is yours.
Molly, New York, stand up. Tom Thibodeau, culture changer, Worldwide West, Julius Randle, most improved, Derrick Rose, 6th Man of the Year candidate, Spike Lee and Stephen A. outside the Spike Lee studio, drinking that moonshine, chanting orange and blue skies. But guess what? It's about to get cloudy for the New York Knicks in the first round because they're going to get beat by the Atlanta Hawks. Yes, I'm picking the Atlanta Hawks in the first round of the playoffs against the New York Knicks. They have a superior superstar that is underrated in Trae Young, averaging 25 and 9 assists a night. They have a Defensive Player of the Year candidate in Clint Capella that's giving you 15 points, 14 rebounds, and 2 blocks. And they have another unsung hero who people don't talk about enough, who could also be in the conversation of most improved, and that's John Collins, giving you 17 and 8 a night. They have so many offensive weapons, from Bogdanovich to Lemon Pepper Lou to Gallinari. And by the way, they are well coached by Nate McMillan. I have the Atlanta Hawks beating the New York Knicks in the first round. Carry the hell on.
How dare you? How dare you? How dare you spew that blasphemy on this show to come up here in the morning? I was in a good mood. How dare you do this, Kendrick Perkins? I'm going to deal with you later because, Molly, I got a Sports Center with Stephen A. coming up tonight.
Hey.
The NBA preview show. And Kendrick Perkins going to be in the house. I'm going to see you in person.
You're going
to have to deal with me. How dare you? How dare you do something like that? Now, I understand what you're saying, because Nate McMillan can coach, and I'm so proud of him, and I'm happy that he's in Atlanta instead of Indiana. Nate McMillan in Indiana just didn't seem right. Him in the ATL seems far more apropos, okay? Trae Young can ball, Collins can ball, Clint Capella, Gallinari, don't bring him up, please. He gonna fight. He might panic the second he walk into the Garden, okay? I ain't worried about him. The New York Knicks, okay? New York stand up. One of the top defenses in the National Basketball Association, an MVP candidate in Julius Randle. RJ Barrett's been playing well. We understand that playoff basketball, things slow down, okay? It gets a little physical, a little rough and rugged. And more importantly, you know this, KP, better than most. Here's the reality. When you're young and playoff basketball arrives and you got a team that defends and engages in lockdown mode, and they're a bit more physical than you, dare I say, it could ultimately count against you. And I think that's going to be the case. I think it's going to be a big-time series. I definitely think it's going 7 games. But the fact that a Game 7 is going to be at Madison Square Garden is what it is for me. I got the Knicks winning this series in 7 games. It's going to take 7. But I got and I'll be covering every game of that series, Max, KP, Molly. I'll be in the ATL. I'll be in the building, okay? Bottom line is the New York Knicks will scratch and claw their way to the second round against a team on the come up with a lot of promise, but just a little bit too young at this particular moment in time.
Perk may be right. Atlanta may be able to beat the Knicks. I'll be laughing if they do, because Stephen A., after all the chest thumping, you can't even win a playoff series against a lower seeded team, and people are acting like the Knicks actually did something. But if I had to guess who's going to win that series, I'm going to guess the Knicks. They're a very well coached, and as Atlanta is, and a really good defensive team. I think, and they do have home court. I think the Knicks probably win the series, but I want to talk about something else, Perk. See, I'm against the Knicks because of James Dolan. You basically have Charles Oakley arrested. Get out of here. You know, like I'm done with Dolan. But I'm not anti-New York. What's going on with you, Perk? You got everyone beating the Nets, not just the Lakers. If they face the Nets in the finals, you got Milwaukee beating the Nets. Now you got the Knicks losing in the first round to a lower-seeded team. You got an issue with New York City?
No, I don't. But I sent my paperwork back to underwriting, okay? And it came back before the playoffs, and they reevaluated and said, hey, some things need to change. So what I've been watching towards the end of the season, I've been watching the Atlanta Hawks team play inspiring, winning basketball and flying under the radar. They have been flying under the radar. And when I say flying, I'm talking about Clint Capella. Just think about this, right? He's top 5 in the league in blocks. We all saw what he did when he was with the Rockets. He was part of that crew with James Harden and Chris Paul, where he helped them get to the Western Conference Finals multiple times. Hell, Clint Capella had so much of an impact, they shipped Dwight Howard out of there, okay? That's how high they are on Clint Capella. This guy is a defensive stud. He could possibly win Defensive Player of the Year, which I think he won't. But, Max, this has nothing to do with me having a problem with teams in New York, okay? Two of my listen, Tom Thibodeau, I won the championship with him in 2008. He's my brother for life. Worldwide West was part of my draft process, okay? So don't get it twisted, Max. It's nothing personal. You don't want to have something personal. Well, right. I'm talking basketball right now.
That's right. Don't have Oakley arrested after a litany of mistakes by Dolan. Let me ask you this. who's the best player in this series? Like, Julius Randle's probably top 5 MVP this year. Is Trae Young? Who has the best player in this series?
Let me tell you something. In the league that you call a guard-driven league, right? That you said on multiple occasions on this platform is a guard-driven league. What did we see last year in the bubble besides Anthony Davis? Who did we see dominate the league in the playoffs when it mattered the most? It was perimeter players, right? And you always go to that point. And I'm looking for Trae Young to have a playoff impact like Jamal Murray did last season in the bubble. And even to the level of Donovan Mitchell, where he may not get out the second round, but he is going to put up monster numbers. He's that electrifying. He's that much of an elite top 4 tier scorer that he's capable of doing that. So I'm looking at Trae Young, and yes, he's going to be the best player in this series.
Although every time Max opens his mouth, he makes me wonder about my position because he just weakens the argument, for crying out loud. I'm still going to stick to my point about the New York Knicks. And I'm going to point to the fact that, again, defense does win, particularly when you're rough and rugged. And to me, when I look at this team right now, and I look at how physical they can be, boy, I wouldn't even be worried, because I am worried. I'm not going to front, KP. I'm definitely worried about the impact that the Atlanta Hawks could have, because they do have some talent on their squad, and they're well coached. But if Mitchell Robinson were healthy, I wouldn't even be worried about this series. I really wouldn't. But they don't have that. But I'm still going with the Knicks in 7 games. Because of their defense, because of the experience.
Hear that, Perk? Now we got the excuse. If the Knicks can't even get out of the first round, it's because of Mitchell Robinson's absence.
I just said I picked them to win. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm not like you. I don't dance like you do. I don't moonwalk.
Excuses.
If I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
Molly, before you end, I just want to say
I hope
this.
You dance
okay?
better than that, Molly.
I walked into the LA studio today, and the security guard, my good friend, I thought he would recognize me. I had my face mask on. And he said, "Hey, man, ain't you the guy that used to play for the Dallas Cowboys?" I said, "You know what? It's time for me to go hit the exercise bike." Because he thought I was Big Swagoo. He thought I was Marcus Peters. He thought I was an offensive lineman. It's time for me to go get a workout in. I said, enough is enough.
That's
I said,
hilarious.
enough is enough. I just kept it moving. I feel real bad.
No, oh my
You did
God.
tell everybody you live in Texas. Maybe that's why I thought that.
Look like Swagoo and feel bad. All right. We'll tell Marcus about that one.
No, Max, don't do that.
No, you said
Swagoo,
enough.
my boy,
You said
saying.
quite enough.
Nothing wrong with a little meat on your bones. All right, let's keep it rolling here, guys. LeBron and Steph.
First Take is brought to you by Liberty Mutual Insurance. Only pay for what you need.
So some NBA fans are looking at the LA Clippers sideways. It's no secret the Clippers rested their starters the final 2 games of the season. Those losses resulted in the Clippers falling in the seeding and in turn avoiding the Lakers in the first round. Let's not forget, Ty Lue coached LeBron for 4 years, so he's very familiar with the king. We've heard all the adjectives: weak move, stupid, strategic. Clippers head coach Ty Lue had this to say about it yesterday. "I don't give a damn what anybody else thinks on the outside. We decided to go health over anything else. We finally got our team healthy, and that is what we're focused on. Whatever people say on the outside, I don't care. I don't read Twitter, have Twitter, and Insta-Twit, all that. I don't care about all that. I am my own man. I do what I want to do, and that's how I live my life." Mr. Smith, talk to me.
You know, I laughed because what happened was that yesterday, you know, I had some of my boys, and obviously they watch First Take, and you know they're avid NBA fans, and they saw what Ty Lue said, and naturally thought he was talking about me or whatever, and they was like, you know, wasn't he talking about you? I said, I don't know, and I don't care. For people that don't understand something, let me explain something to you right now. Ty Lue is my brother. I love that man. You understand? I've known Ty Lue for years. I've been an advocate on his behalf on many, many occasions. Okay? He deserved this job since Doc Rivers lost it, and I'm happy for the success that he's had. He deserved far more consideration. He should have been the head coach of the Lakers before Frank Vogel got the job, to be quite honest with you. But he didn't want the Lakers picking his staff. And we discussed that right here on this particular show. The man took the Cleveland Cavaliers to 3 straight NBA Finals. He could have messed it up, but he didn't do it. Won an NBA championship. Let's give credit where credit is due. Ty Lue and I go back years. Okay? And that's exactly how Ty Lue feels, and that's exactly how he talks. I take no offense to it whatsoever if he was talking about me. Excuse me, that's Ty Lue I know. Ty Lue don't give a damn what anybody says. Ty Lue is his own man. There is no punk in Ty Lue, not even a little bit, okay? And guess what? I take no offense to it. I applaud it. He shouldn't give a damn about what I have to say, to be quite honest with you, unless I'm right. In this particular instance, I think I might be, but I don't know, because I'm not the head coach of the Clippers. He is. But just like I sit here and tell you that Ty Lue does not, he is real, he is authentic, he ain't fake, he ain't phony. Every word he said, that's the Ty Lue I know. And I also will tell you this. He ain't the only one making those decisions about Kawhi Leonard missing 20 games this year. Paul George missing how many games? 18 games this year. Patrick Beverley being injured. Serge Ibaka being out 31 games this year or so, something like that. I mean, Ty Lue ain't the only one making that call. That comes from upstairs as well. But I got news for you. And Ty Lue, when I see him, I'm going to give my brother a pound and a hug, and I'm going to wish him nothing but the best. But just like Ty Lue, just like I know, Ty Lue doesn't give a damn what I say, Max says, you, or anybody else. Ty Lue most certainly knows I don't give a damn what he has to say on this particular subject. I mean exactly what the hell I said. I say what I mean, and I mean what I say. I think the Los Angeles Clippers, and a lot of people in the league think that the Los Angeles Clippers were avoiding the Lakers in the early rounds because they wanted no parts of the Lakers that early, because this is one of only 3 franchises, if I remember correctly, that has never made it to a conference finals. Them, the Charlotte Hornets, and the New Orleans Pelicans, if I remember correctly. And so if you're the Clippers, particularly coming off of last year's expectations that fell short, winning has to begin with a berth in the conference finals, which has never happened for your franchise. Why jeopardize that by going up against the Lakers earlier than later? I think that was their thinking. I'm not, and that's the decision that they made. If it works out for them, I would love to see Clippers and Lakers in the conference finals. We know that's what I want more than anything. What have I been clamoring for, Max? LeBron versus Kawhi with a conference title on the line. That's me. So I say what I said. I meant what I meant. I don't give a damn, just like Ty Lue don't give a damn. And when I see my brother, we gonna give each other a pound and a hug, because I got love for that man, and I respect the hell out of him, and I take no offense if he was talking about me. That's what comes with sitting in this seat. I can take it, and he can too.
Well, I care what he says, but I care more about what he does, what Ty Lue does. And I disagreed. If it was about tanking to avoid the Lakers in the first round, I disagree with that strategy. I think you'd rather catch the Lakers cold than wait until through attrition. If the thinking is LeBron and AD have these nagging injuries, we can catch them later when they won't be as effective. I just disagree with the strategy. But I'm not the head coach of the Clippers. He is. And he's tasked with one thing. And it's not making it to a conference finals. It's winning a championship. Ty Lue has his mind on one thing: winning a championship. So, Stephen A., I feel about this the same way I feel about regular season games, when Popovich doesn't even dress guys, and you talk about basically the league's business interests and the fans who are paying money. And I'm like, look, if you're the head coach of a team or the GM of a team, your job competitively, win the championship. And whatever move you have to make, you make that move strategically to win the championship. Not every single game. Sometimes you have to sacrifice games. If Ty Lue's the head coach, if he's playing chess, he's got his eye on the king. He's looking at the other guy's king and saying, I'm taking him out. And sometimes you have to sacrifice pieces to go get the king. And if the king in this case is the king, LeBron James, even if it's not what he's saying. Even if he's telling the press, look, it's our health, but really it's the Lakers' health. He thinks they won't be healthy later on, and that optimizes his chances to win. And you got to sacrifice a game, a play, whatever, a seeding, whatever that may be. Here's a rook, here's a bishop, here's a knight, here's some pawns. None of that matters. That's just material. The only thing that matters is the championship. And that's what Ty Lue is doing. He's the head coach. He's the chess player. I can disagree with him. You can disagree with him. But as you said, it's his call. Yeah. And I got no problem with the calls he makes, even if I disagree.
Stephen A., do you think it's smarter to get the Lakers early or deeper in the playoffs?
I think it's smarter to get them early because they've had questionable health issues. I think it's smarter to get them earlier than later. But to piggyback off of a couple of points, maybe I was a bit hyperbolic when I'm talking about not giving a damn. What I mean to be specific is that he can say whatever he wants. And I'm not questioning how he feels. And I'm going to say whatever the hell I want. And I don't care who questions how I feel. That's all I mean by making that statement. Point number one. Point number two, we also have to understand something here. It's very, very well. You got to crawl before you walk, Max. Of course the championship is on their mind. But they've never made it to a conference finals. You got to do that first. And so what I'm saying to you is that, think about it. You might sit up there and say, if the Clippers were to lose to the Lakers in the conference finals, that's not a great thing. It's also not the worst thing in the world. You know what's worse? You let go of Doc Rivers. You elevate Ty Lue. You go through this season letting guys engage in load management and things of that nature. After beating Dallas last year but folding with a 3-1 lead in the Western Conference semifinals to Denver. And then you position yourself to avoid the Lakers, to go up against the Dallas Mavericks in the first round, and you lose that series. If that happened, that's a disaster. That's not the same. Hold on, Max. I'm not saying, and I'm coming to you with this. What I'm saying to you is, it is not equal. If you don't win the championship, I understand with Kawhi and Paul George, that's not good, considering how excellent they are. What I'm saying is, it is catastrophically worse to lose in the first round or to lose in an earlier round than a conference finals when you literally worked to avoid the team that's perceived as being your number one impediment. If you lose before you get to them and you don't get to a conference finals, that's significantly worse.
First of all, his stated reason for tanking, which we could see, right, was they're healthy and they're resting their guy. They want to make sure they stay healthy. It's our interpretation that he's avoiding the Lakers, right? And we don't think, or I don't think, at least, I won't speak for you, but I presume you don't think, he's worried about a negative outcome in the first round against the Lakers versus a negative outcome in the conference finals versus the Lakers. I don't believe that's animating his behavior. I don't think that's motivating him.
The rest of the organization, Steve Ballmer, you're building a new arena in Inglewood, Max? You're building a new arena in Inglewood? You're doing all of this stuff? You're trying to make some noise in L.A. and you lose to the Lakers in the first round?
Ty Lue, because he couldn't choose his own guys, didn't take the Lakers' job. You think now he's going to take marching orders that he disagrees with competitively to win a championship? After everything you just said about him, that does not seem right to me.
I'm not saying him. I'm saying organization. I don't mean him specifically. I was just talking about as an organization. The pressure being brought to bear. I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about them.
Yeah, but he's the guy making the decision and out in the front lines answering media questions.
He's out
saying
in the front
it's
lines,
my
but
call.
He ain't the only one making the decision. He's out in the front line, but he's the only one making the decision.
Listen, if I hear you say something like that, then it's not hard to read between the lines. What I'm saying is this. Ultimately, he will take responsibility. And my whole point is, same with Kawhi, load management, all that stuff. You have choices to make in the NBA, including if you are avoiding the Lakers. Do I want to take them cold right now? You know, Schroeder just got back. LeBron just got back. AD just got back. That's what I'd have done. I want to see him right now, right? I don't want to get him ahead of steam. Or, you know what? These are nagging injuries. They're only going to get worse. Let's see him a little down the line, right? But if that's his decision, he's the head coach. He's responsible for it. My point is this. I don't care who you rest, who you tank against, what regular season game you lose, how you try to jockey for position. My only question is this. Is your eye on the prize? Is it all done in service of winning a championship because you believe it gives you your best shot? That's what I believe motivates Ty Lue.
Yeah. I mean, he said right in the quote his priority was health. According to our basketball power index here at ESPN, they give the Clippers a 66% chance to beat the Mavs. When we come back here on First Take between LeBron, Tatum went off dropping 50 as he sent Russell Westbrook, Bradley Beal, and the Wizards packing to the tune of 118-100. They'll face the Pacers. Tatum scored 32 of his 50 in the second half alone. Kemba Walker, my guy from UConn, 29 points, which secured the 7th seed for the playoffs in a first-round matchup with second-seeded Brooklyn. That series opens on Saturday. Here's the triple-double king, Russ.
I don't know. I guess we just missed him tonight. You know, it happens. It's another game, different game. This game really don't matter at this point.
Max.
Yep.
You disappointed with Russ, or are you impressed with Tatum?
Disappointed. I mean, obviously both, but I'm more disappointed in Russell Westbrook because heading into this game, I thought Russell Westbrook is going to will himself to be the best player on either team. And as it turns out, he wasn't even the best point guard on either team. And this is, you know, you're set up for this watching the Pacers and the Hornets, and you see the way Charlotte came out. You said, damn, they just lack intensity, right? One thing, I actually even tweeted a picture of Westbrook entering the arena because I want to show the difference between intensity and what Charlotte showed. I used Westbrook as like the poster child for that. Like, this dude is intense. If anything, I think sometimes Westbrook's too intense. He pulls too hard. He needs to ease off, but not to the extent we saw last night. The body language, everything. I did not see the normal Russell Westbrook, let alone a guy who refused to lose, and that's what it was going to take. So Russell Westbrook, Mr. Intensity, does everything, triple doubles on a team that was extremely hot late in the season, largely because of him, was not only not the best player, but was outplayed by the other team's point guard, and so of course they had no chance to win. Now I have to sit here and listen to this guy, Molly, talk about wake me up when Russell Westbrook wins in the playoffs. Probably going to have to do that for another year.
You do listen to him 10 hours a week.
I hate to say I told you so. But like I told folks, the guy's a future Hall of Famer, without question. An incredible talent. Gotta work on the J. Because when Brad Stevens decides to take a 6'9" guy with Jason Tatum's length and put him on you to defend you, because he knows that that can be an impediment to you finishing shots at the basket, which is what Russell Westbrook's specialty is, then all of a sudden you're compromised. Do you know that Brad Stevens literally put Kemba Walker on Hachimura, who's like 6'9", 6'10"? He had Kemba Walker on him, for crying out loud. That's how little you were worried about the other guys. You keyed on Westbrook. You know that he struggles to shoot perimeter shots as the game slows in postseason. And that's what I was talking about when I was saying Steph Curry, Damian Lillard, and others, they're marksmen, and that's why they have more success in the postseason, because they can pull up from long range. Now, having said all of that, as disappointed as Russell Westbrook's performance was, I got to give praise to Jason Tatum, who put the world on notice and just reminded everybody, the brother's only 22. He dropping 50. He averaging 26 a game as the number one option for the Boston Celtics, shooting 45% from the field, better than 38.5% from three-point range. That dude is 22 years old. That's the dude that Brian Colangelo got hosed by Danny Ainge over when the Sixers had the number one, when the Sixers had the number 3 overall pick and wanted to move up to number 1 so badly to pass on Jason Tatum and pick Markelle Fultz instead. This is what we're talking about here. Just imagine for 1 second, Max Kellerman, if Jason Tatum was playing with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid.
They win it all maybe this year?
They're winning it all. They're winning it all. That's how gifted this kid is. And he's only 22 years of age, which ultimately brings us back to the conversation that we had about Brad Stevens yesterday, who did an exceptional job coaching last night. Give credit where credit is due. And I'm not advocating for him to be fired. Neither are you, Max. But again, when you have a talent like that, in Jason Tatum, when you see Kemba Walker show up and drop 29 as well, and you saw what Jaylen Brown was doing before he got injured, what the hell were you guys doing being a 500 team, having a roller coaster ride that you went on? That's not about talent. That's about something else that was missing. So I walked away incredibly impressed with Jason Tatum, just a guy that's emerging as a star that I think is maybe a year away from being a flat-out superstar. If he's not already, he is that special, and that's what I think we walk away from last night's game with.
Well, look, I said yesterday, and I've been saying, Jason Tatum has the potential to maybe one day be the number one scoring option on a championship team. Not many guys who ever lived can really be that. I think Tatum has a shot to do it. And he was playing, Stephen A. I'm not taking any credit away from him. He was great last night. But he's playing an awful, a miserable defensive team. Washington, even when they got hot. And by the way, I think they have real chances, against Indiana. Health.
Bless you.
I think they have real chances against Indiana. They've beaten them twice pretty recently, but they're winning games 137-135 in regulation. They were winning games by fast-paced, high-scoring games. They're a bad defensive team playing a great young player who you knew had to go off to win.
Yeah, but that's why I brought up his numbers, because if he just showed up last night, averaging 19 to 20 a game, that would be different. But when you spend an entire season and you play 64 to 72 games and you're the number one option for the Boston Celtics and you still average 26.4 a game on 45% shooting and better than 38% shooting from three-point range, when you are 6'9" with a handle and a perimeter shot and a mid-range game, the brother is special, and
No
Jason
question.
Tatum is coming.
His third 50-point game, only one Celtic has more. That would be Larry Bird, who has 4. Good company to be in. We love Larry Bird and the Rose family. Stephen A., let me ask you this here. How far do you think the Celtics can go in this Nets series? What kind of series do you think they could give them?
No, they're getting swept. They're getting swept, or they're losing. They might lose. They might lose in 5. But my initial response is they'll get swept, because I think that Brooklyn's offense is just so lethal. The fact that Jaylen Brown is not there, I believe the only way that Boston can win a game in this series is if Kemba Walker plays the way he played last night. If Kemba Walker doesn't show up and do what he did last night, Jason Tatum can't carry it by himself against those brothers. He'll get his points. Jason Tatum's going to put up buckets. He might average over 30 in this series. But in the end, KD, Kyrie, James Harden, and that offensive juggernaut that is the Brooklyn Nets is just entirely too much firepower, and I believe they're just going to outscore Boston every game. The only shot they have to win a game, Max, is if Kemba Walker averages better than 25 this series.
Which he can do.
Which a
healthy Kemba can do.
Which he can do. I average better than 25 a game on better than 45% shooting. That's the only way they're beating Boston in the game.
Kemba was very aggressive. Kemba was very aggressive. That was the Kemba Walker that, when he's right, you go, whoa, that dude is an all-star. Even then, I think they're getting swept, Stephen A. When James Harden is your third scoring option, and the reason I think he's going to I think he'll be Finals MVP this year, I think he's going to have a great postseason, is he has 2 weapons now in KD and Kyrie, with D'Antoni and him running what they always run, where he's like, I'm the third scoring option. He doesn't have to score 30 or 50 to win. And by the way, the fourth scoring option is Joe Harris, who's one of the best three-point shooters in the league. I think he shot over 45% from 3. And that dude is going to be wide open. By the way, the other thing is, who knew? I thought it was the remains of Blake Griffin. He can still play. It's a wrap. The Celtics got no wins against the Nets.
All right.
I always told you Blake Griffin could play. He just didn't want to because he was in Detroit.
Yes, you did.
All right, fellas, Celtics at Nets, that kicks off on Saturday. Ty Lue sounding off on how the Clips Saturday against the Celtics, Kyrie's former team. But tell me this, who's the biggest threat to Brooklyn in the East?
It's easily the Philadelphia 76ers. First of all, there's no answer to Embiid. He's like in the NBA, let alone on the Brooklyn Nets. You can throw Claxton and Blake at him. Good luck. He was the MVP. But he just missed too many games, so Jokic will be the MVP. Otherwise, it would have been Embiid. And then you look at this defense. Look, the Nets, I think, are going to win the title if they stay healthy. But the Sixers may have the best shot of any team, east or west, of beating them. Look at the defense. The best defensive player in the game, I'm sorry, it's not Rudy Gobert. Ben Simmons was right about this. Rudy Gobert can't defend all 5 positions really well. Ben Simmons can. Ben Simmons has been the best defensive player in basketball. You know who another top 5 guy is? Joel Embiid. You know another guy who we said, boy, that guy has a lot of defensive potential. In a couple of years, the year is right now. Right now, Thibault is already an excellent defender. Maybe top 10, Stephen A. at this moment, the way it's trending, and he has a chance to be the best defender in the game in short order. That's 3 guys. How about the spacing they have with those shooters? You like what Daryl Morey's done? Seth Curry and Danny Green. Seth Curry shooting 47% from 3. He's taking 10 a game, 12 a game, whatever it is. Danny Green, same thing, taking a bunch of 3s, hitting them at over 40%. Danny Green can still defend on ball, by the way. You look at the shooting they have, and I haven't even mentioned Tobias Harris, or Ben Simmons can't shoot, that's true, but look at the floor spacing, and he's created more open looks from 3 than anyone in the league since he entered the league. The Sixers are the threat to the Nets.
Listen, I don't just summarily dismiss that because I love what I've seen from the Sixers this year, and I believe in Seth Curry. Definitely Tobias Harris, the way that he's been playing, and I'm with you on Thibault as well because I'm very impressed with him. I like what they're doing, and obviously Doc Rivers was the ingredient that they needed to elevate themselves, and Joel Embiid is an MVP candidate because we all know what he's done when he was healthy before he ultimately went down with that knee injury. Having said all of that, I would remind you that the reigning 2-time league MVP resides in Milwaukee. And this year, which is considered a down year to some degree, because as you pointed out a few months ago, Coach Budenholzer was trying new things with the arrival of Jrue Holiday and implementing him into the equation along with Chris Middleton, DiVincenzo out of Villanova as a contributor to this squad as well, et cetera, et cetera. I would remind you that with Giannis Antetokounmpo, the numbers that I have in front of me, Max, are 28.1 points a game, 11 rebounds, 5.9 assists on 56.9% shooting. Last time I checked, there's nothing to sneeze at. And I'm looking at them, and I'm looking at the fact that they have the number 1 offense in the NBA. Number 1 in attempts, I would add. They've got size and athleticism on their front line. The acquisition of P.J. Tucker has elevated them defensively. You know what Jrue Holiday can do as a defender on the perimeter well. And unlike Ben Simmons, and I love Ben Simmons, he's my defensive player of the year. But when you look at Ben Simmons offensively, yes, you can have him roaming on the baseline. And yes, Doc Rivers came on my show and talked and came on First Take as well and told me that, you know what, I'm not really concerned about Ben Simmons. And he and I debated about that because I don't believe that to be the case in terms of Ben Simmons' perimeter shooting. I think sometimes you can find yourself playing 4-on-5 basketball on the offensive side of the ball, if you're the 76ers. And as a result of that, that's not the case in Milwaukee. So I'm going to look at the Milwaukee Bucks slightly as a bigger threat to Brooklyn than Philadelphia at this moment in time, even though Philadelphia obviously is very, very formidable and they can end up getting hot and doing some things.
Yeah, you see how you compared Giannis first to Embiid and then to Simmons? The bottom line is Milwaukee's got 1 of those guys. They got Giannis. The Sixers got 2 of those guys. They got Embiid and Simmons. I mean, respect to Jrue Holiday, respect to Chris Middleton, but there are levels to this. And not only do the Sixers have the shooters who space the floor and the high-level players like Embiid and Simmons. What are you shaking your head about? Simmons?
Hold on, wait a minute. Chris Middleton isn't Ben Simmons defensively, but Ben Simmons isn't the threat that Chris Middleton is offensively.
Only shooting the ball, Stephen A.
Only
shooting the ball, obviously.
Only shooting?
The ball. Yeah, but
did you just say
else.
Only shooting?
Chris Middleton shoots. Everyone shoots better than Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons does everything else way better than Chris Middleton. But shooting, Middleton has.
Max, when are you going to learn? For the last 2 years, I've talked to you. You were one. I apologize. I see now what's going on. I see what happened. See, 2 years ago, Molly, Max had Greek Freak Giannis as the best player in the world. And because of 2 games over a weekend, reduced them to 5 and never recovered because they lost that series against Toronto. Then last year he had faith. Hold on. Then last year he had faith in them again. And they let him down against Miami. And me and Kendrick Perkins had picked Miami. And Max picked Milwaukee. And they burned them. Max said, fool me once, fool me twice, but I'll be damned if you're going to do it a third time, Milwaukee. So that's what's going on here.
Now he's
with
going
Max.
Philly.
That's what's going on here with Max Kellerman.
Yeah, no, you're right, Stephen A. You're joking, but you're right.
Hold on. What I'm saying is, Ben Simmons, it's one thing with Giannis only shooting 30% from threes. But Ben Simmons doesn't even attempt them. And so as a result of that, when you don't even have to game plan but so much in terms of his offensive prowess from the perimeter, that he's not that threat, but you need him on the floor for his defensive prowess. That is a problem for your offense.
Not when everyone
and that can
else.
come back to
but
burn
Stephen A., they can't play 5 out, but they can play 4 because even Embiid is shooting almost 38% from 3, taking 3 a game.
But
everyone on the team is a shooter.
Right.
Everyone on the team is a shooter.
I'm just saying that come playoff basketball, as the game slows down and you become more of a half-court offense, I think that Ben Simmons' limitations as a perimeter threat could burn them.
I'm tossing it into Embiid when it slows down. I think they'll be fine.
All right, Max saying the Sixers are the biggest threat to the Nets, and Stephen A., of course, saying the Milwaukee Bucks. Let's keep it rolling. LeBron chasing MJ 6 rings. He desperately needs to get number 5 this postseason. Kendrick Perkins, Stephen A., and Max weigh in on the Lakers' chances to repeat. Don't miss that debate. And as 2021 unfolds, who will sports fans agree is the best show in sports? Might it be Patrick Mahomes? Might it be Steph Curry? Max Kellerman with an answer that may shock you. Or will it enrage me?